The night shift at a small diner in Baltimore, Maryland, usually moved slowly, but that evening the air felt tight. The neon sign buzzed outside as rain streaked down the windows, and inside, Lena Brooks wiped down a counter that never seemed to stay clean. She was tired, her feet sore, her black apron stained with coffee and grease, yet she kept her head down and did her job. Most customers barely looked at her, and she had learned not to expect kindness from strangers. A group of loud men at the corner booth snapped their fingers at her, laughing as she brought over plates. One of them complained about the food, even though it was untouched. Lena apologized softly, her voice steady but calm. She had learned that staying polite was safer than pushing back, even when she was right. The manager watched from behind the register, but didn't step in. When the men finally left without paying the full bill, Lena followed them outside, holding the receipt with shaking hands. "Sir, you're short," she said, trying to sound professional. One of them scoffed and pushed past her shoulder. Another muttered something cruel under his breath. A nearby patrol car slowed, blue lights reflecting across the wet pavement. 2 police officers stepped out, their boots heavy against the ground. They didn't ask questions at first. One of them pointed at Lena. "What's going on here?" he asked sharply. The men quickly spoke over her, accusing her of harassment and yelling. Lena opened her mouth to explain, but her words were cut off. "She's lying," one man said. "She just wants trouble." Lena felt her chest tighten. "I just asked them to pay," she said, holding up the receipt. They walked out. The officers didn't take the paper. One of them told her to lower her voice, even though she wasn't yelling. When she tried again, explaining she could call the owner or show the cameras, the officer's tone grew harsher. People nearby slowed to watch, phones lifting quietly. "I know the owner," Lena said, panic slipping into her voice. "And one of our regulars, he's a billionaire. He can vouch for me." The moment the word left her mouth, the officer laughed. "A billionaire?" he said. "You expect us to believe that?" Before she could answer, one officer grabbed her arm and twisted it behind her back. Lena cried out in pain as the cold pavement scraped her knees. Rain soaked into her jeans while someone shouted for them to stop. The officer pressed her down harder, telling her to stop resisting, even though she wasn't moving. Inside the diner, the manager froze. No one stepped forward. Lena's heart pounded as fear washed over her. Memories of her mother's warnings echoed in her mind. Stay calm. Stay respectful. Tears mixed with rain as she struggled to breathe. "Please," she said. "I didn't do anything wrong." A black SUV slowed across the street, its headlights cutting through the rain. The driver stared, then pulled over sharply. A tall man stepped out, his suit dark but neat, his presence commanding without a word. People recognized him instantly. Daniel Cross, a well-known billionaire investor who lived nearby and ate at the diner every Friday. "What is going on?" Daniel demanded, his voice firm. The officers paused. One turned, startled. "Sir, please step back. This doesn't concern you." Daniel's eyes locked onto Lena on the ground. "It concerns me," he said coldly. "She works here, and you are hurting her." The officer scoffed. "Do you know her?" "Yes," Daniel replied. "And she's telling the truth." The crowd murmured. The officer hesitated, but didn't let go. "That doesn't change procedure." Before Daniel could respond, another vehicle arrived quietly, unmarked, its presence calm but heavy. A woman stepped out, her posture straight, her expression controlled. She wore civilian clothes, but the way the officers stiffened said everything. "What's the situation?" she asked. The officers snapped to attention. "Ma'am?" The woman looked down at Lena, then at the officer holding her. "Release her. Now." He hesitated. "With respect, I am General Maya Brooks," she said evenly. "And that is my sister." The street went silent. Rain capped against the pavement as the officer slowly let go, color draining from his face. Lena collapsed into a sitting position, shaking as her sister knelt beside her. Maya placed a steady hand on Lena's shoulder, her eyes burning with controlled fury. "I want badge numbers," Maya said calmly. "And I want an explanation." Daniel Cross stepped closer, his jaw tight. "And I want this on record," he added. "Every second." Phones were now openly recording. The men who had skipped the bill slipped away unnoticed. Lena looked up at her sister, tears streaking her face. "I didn't do anything wrong," she whispered. "I know," Maya said softly. "And this ends tonight." The officers exchanged nervous glances as sirens sounded faintly in the distance. What had started as a small act of prejudice had now turned into something much bigger. The rain eased into a mist as additional patrol cars arrived, their lights painting the street in red and blue. Lena sat wrapped in a dry jacket Daniel had placed over her shoulders, her hands still trembling. Maya stayed beside her, calm on the surface but watchful, as if every movement mattered. Neighbors and customers stood nearby, whispering as the truth slowly settled in. Supervisors stepped out of the new vehicles, their faces serious as they took in the scene. General Maya Brooks spoke clearly and without raising her voice. She explained everything she had seen, from the moment Lena followed the customers outside to the force used against her. Daniel Cross added his account, pointing to the diner cameras and the crowd of witnesses. The officers who had restrained Lena avoided eye contact as badge numbers were taken and statements recorded. One supervisor apologized directly to Lena, his voice stiff but careful. "This should not have happened," he said. "We will investigate fully." Lena nodded, though the words felt thin against the ache in her arm and chest. Inside the diner, the manager finally stepped forward, wringing his hands. He admitted the men had left without paying and that Lena had followed procedure. His voice cracked as he spoke, realizing how close he had come to losing everything by staying silent. Maya's eyes met his, sharp and disappointed, but she said nothing. An ambulance arrived to check Lena's injuries. The medic gently examined her bruised wrists and scraped knees, offering quiet reassurance. Daniel stood nearby, his hands clenched, anger still simmering beneath his calm exterior. "No one should be treated like this," he said softly. "Not ever." News spread quickly. By morning, videos from the crowd had gone viral, sparking outrage across Baltimore and beyond. People recognized Lena's face and story, sharing messages of support and demanding accountability. What had happened outside a small diner was now a national conversation. Internal Affairs launched an investigation within hours. The officers involved were placed on leave as the department released a statement promising transparency. Civil rights leaders spoke out, using Lena's experience as a painful reminder of how easily power could be abused when bias went unchecked. Lena stayed home the next day, sitting on her sister's couch as sunlight filtered through the window. Maya made tea, her movements gentle. "You didn't deserve any of that," she said quietly, "and you are not alone." Lena nodded, her voice catching as she thanked her sister for arriving when she did. Daniel visited later that afternoon, bringing flowers and a simple apology for not stepping in sooner. "I eat at that diner every week," he said. "I thought knowing people, having status, meant something. But it shouldn't take my presence for someone to be treated right." Lena looked at him, surprised by his honesty. "I just want people to see me as human," she replied. "Not a problem. Not a threat." He nodded. "They will, because you spoke up." In the weeks that followed, change began to ripple outward. The diner owner implemented new policies to protect staff and ensure management always intervened. Community meetings were held between residents and police leadership, with Lena invited to speak if she chose. Though nervous, she stood before the crowd and shared her story, her voice steady and clear. "I was doing my job," she said. I asked for fairness and got force instead. That can't be how things work." Applause filled the room, some people wiping away tears. The investigation concluded with disciplinary action and mandatory retraining for the officers involved. More importantly, it sparked broader reforms in the department, with new oversight measures and community accountability programs. While no outcome could erase what happened, it showed that standing up could lead to real change. One evening, Lena returned to the diner for the first time since the incident. The neon sign still buzzed, but the air felt different. Customers greeted her warmly, some thanking her for her courage. She smiled, nervous but proud, reclaiming a place that had once felt unsafe. Maya watched from a booth, sipping coffee. Daniel sat nearby, keeping a respectful distance. Neither said much, but their presence reminded Lena that dignity came from connection, not power. As she wiped the counter, Lena realized something important. Protection and respect were not privileges meant for the powerful. They were rights every person deserved, no matter their job, skin color, or status. And that truth, once spoken out loud, was stronger than fear.